Hi, this is Pat Kahn, manager of the Ubuntu Server and Openstack team. We're here on the last day of the Ubuntu Developer Summit, June 2014. And today we've got our OpenStack team who's going to do some demos on using OpenStack, getting OpenStack set up using Charms, and I think command line. So Ryan's going to start the discussion and start walking you through. I'm pretty excited to see it. Take it away, Ryan.
All right. Can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Okay, great. So we have the the OpenStack team with us. We work on a little system called ServerStack. We've got Chuck, Corey, James, Liam, and Pat. So these folks are the ones who put a lot of effort, along with some other bright folks, into the Juju Charms, specifically surrounding the OpenStack deployments. And so today, what we kind of want to do is take the demos that have been done very well on stage to really display the awesomeness of Juju and Maz and OpenStack, but do it from a different perspective from the command line, also kind of bouncing back and forth between the GUIs. And so we're going to take a branch called the OpenStack Charm Testing. I believe is publicly accessible. Is that right, James? Okay, he's nodding. That's good. And so what the thank you. So what this is intended to be is just a demonstration of kind of how quickly and awesomely you can use these tools to bring up a new OpenStack instance. And if anyone has manually deployed an OpenStack instance, I'm sure you're perhaps regretting it. It's very tedious, and there's a lot of decisions to be made. OpenStack is a very complex animal, and there are a ton of different configuration options and different architectures. So we have a series of charms put together in a bundle with a YAML, and I'll kind of step through those a bit. Just real quick, I'm going to test the screen share here. I think we're set up for this.
Yep.
And so this is on a high level OpenStack. And we're not going to dive into this, but you can see all of the various services and relations. These are reproduced in the YAML in terms of relations, and that's a file that basically is a configuration file full of key pair sets to configure your various customizations of each of these services. So when we get to the YAML, it's basically a text representation of an OpenStack deployment such as this. One more little graphic before we get cruising here. The visualization of what we're doing, I think, is kind of important, and so I just threw this together a few minutes ago. It's very easy to get kind of lost in space when we're talking about multiple layers of OpenStack, and so what we're working in, this outer layer, is our kind of testing and development environment. And so the right side and the bottom side is representing a Juju instance that speaks to Maz, which talks to bare metal, and Juju then deploys the OpenStack services to that bare metal. Okay, and so we're going to be operating in this inner box where Juju talks to OpenStack, which talks to instances in this outer layer, and then deploys OpenStack to it. And then perhaps, I'm not sure if we have time, James is going to fill in the gray box for us with yet another layer of inception. So get ready for that. That'll be fun. Okay, so the easiest way to get the code we're talking about here is to branch a OpenStack charm testing branch from BZR, which I've already done to save time on downloads, but this is the command that you could do. All right, so what that'll give you is a series of configuration files along with a README and some scripts. And so I would like to kind of hop into this YAML real quick. we're going to use this today.yaml, which is not part of the code. That is the default YAML modified for our environment today, basically souping up the CPU cores and making some provisions for our MTU, since we're tunneling networks through networks. And so at a high level, you can see that the YAML defines each of the OpenStack services and gives various configuration options below each. And so you can see the various components that we have. And now, so those lines in that messy OpenStack high-level picture are represented here in how we want this OpenStack to be built. And so we've made relations between each of the services and defined those here. There again, we have defined a lot of different combinations of OpenStack release versus Ubuntu release. And so you can do things like deploy Icehouse on Precise or Icehouse on Trusty, or take a trunk and install it if you want to test. But we're basically going to cruise along with the Icehouse Trusty install. So switching over to Juju. Juju is a service orchestration tool that is open source, and I think the best description I've heard of a Juju charm is that it captures the opinionated knowledge of a system engineer's deployment. And so what it does is it automates the installation of any particular service. And so that's done through a series of procedures and hooks that are written into the charm itself. Now in the charms, there are configuration options that can be passed, as you saw in the YAML. And so we've already got all that pre-configured in that YAML file. Before we can deploy to Juju instance, we have to bootstrap the first instance for the thing. I'm going to switch over to this Nova list, which is the outer layer of OpenStack that I showed on that first slide. And so what you're seeing here are all of the instances running on layer 1 of our OpenStack, or the outer shell, if you will. And so as I Juju bootstrap, you'll see a new instance come up, and that'll be where we can that'll be what we can use as kind of a launch pad for the rest of the deployment. So there are a lot of commands and a lot of documentation around this. What I'm doing here with this command is bootstrapping a new environment called by 0, and then running a command after that to Juju deploy the GUI back to that initial instance, and then we're going to expose the Juju GUI. And really the GUI we're going to use today really just to view the deployment alongside the command line interface, just so you can kind of see how things happen. Generally on stage and in meetings and things like that, when we do a OpenStack demonstration, the GUI is pretty much all that you see. So I'm going to go ahead and kick this off. If I head back over here, shortly we should see a new machine coming up on the OpenStack. Should take just a moment.
And you can go to the GUI and look at the set.
We can, but right now we're one layer of network away from it, so I can't access it from my machine, but I'm going to fix that here shortly.
Yeah, okay. No, I just wanted to point that out.
Yep, very good. And so while that's happening, I'm just going to open up a new screen here. So we can do a lot of things from the command line. First thing I want to do is get my floating IPs from that first layer of OpenStack, and so I've already predetermined that I want to use 203 for this Juju GUI. So we're going to do, see if I can type this morning. We're going to associate a floating IP to that instance. Well, before we do that, we kind of need the instance ID. So this instance ID is a unique value representing this machine. A lot of the commands require that you have that ID handy, so a lot of copying and pasting when you're doing the command line. So the syntax is not that. You know what? Oh, I've catted it over there. We can't get it from there. Let's try
You
that
gotta
again.
do the list again. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
I like it
I
because
did.
then I can go, okay, I see it's the same, because that number's long enough, I'm not going to remember it.
Why not?
Because my ATM PIN number will fall out of my head.
Okay, there we go. So the syntax is Nova floating IP associate machine ID and then the IP that you want. Has to be one of the IPs that have already been allocated to the tenant on the outer stack. So we'll give that thing the 203 IP. Go ahead and close all those out. We should now be able to, from our local machine, get to that GUI. I've not set up SSL certs or anything for this demo. Okay, so what's the password, you might ask? And so good thing here, the fine Juju folks have given us a nice little guide for that. Notice we didn't set a password. And so I happen to know that that puppy is going to be stored in that file.
Wait, so you just...
So I went by the advice of the GUI here that says, hey, if you don't know how to get into this, go look here.
Okay.
Right, and I went and looked there and copied that password out. It's automatically generated. It's a long, nasty password. I suppose you could change that, but for the purposes of the demo, I don't think we will. So we have a kind of a blank slate here with the Juju GUI. And I think what we'll do is just kind of pop it off to the side. I know that the Juju GUI window is going to be tiny for everyone to see. When we get back into looking at relations, I'll kind of zoom in there. And real quick, Corey, have you confirmed that you have access to this
Did you paste
web?
the password? I didn't. You paste
No,
that?
I didn't paste the password. You're going to have to retype it from right there. Just kidding.
You should just know it. It's would be Chewy Lalia Moki.
That's right. It's phonetic. At least they did that, right?
It kind of is. It's
that's
kind
awesome.
of crazy, but
okay, no biggie, no biggie. So the
I think that might be a real word somewhere.
it might.
Just crazy.
So now we're ready to deploy Openstack, which amazingly really only takes about 3 minutes to bring up the stack itself. Okay, so here again we're on the outer layer of virtualization on the main Openstack instance. We'll cruise back over. Oh, Juju Stat, I forgot I was going to talk about that. So all along you can run Juju Status to see all of the machines and services and relations that are built in to our environment, or the things that we've brought up. It's going to get unwieldy for our screen size and font size, so you probably won't be able to see it all, but we might scroll through that once the thing is deployed. Right now, there's one machine, as is represented here.
I'm in the GUI, Ryan.
Cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
and Ryan, the reason you've got him in the GUI is so that while you're doing all this, he's gonna place the icons in a pretty way.
Yeah, if you've used Juju, it's got a really rich GUI interface, and when you deploy a very complex scenario such as OpenStack, you'll end up with a dozen or so services, or charms rather, that are deployed along kind of a horizon here. And so what Corey will do is kind of arrange those so that they make a little bit more sense visually. It doesn't have any impact on the actual deployment, it's just a visual. Okay, so using this OpenStack charm testing branch, this piece of the command here is your basic deployment command. And so you're saying, I want to Juju deploy everything that I've defined in the today YAML to the buys 0 Juju environment. Furthermore, we want to deploy Icehouse on top of Trusty. And again, those were all defined back in that YAML. We're tagging a couple of commands on here just so that we have a single command to wait for. The configure script will do some things like import images and configure some of the networking that's specific to our environment. Those excuse me, those configurations would be something that you would have to probably tailor to your own network. And then the last command imports a trusty image, because I believe the configure command only brings up to precise.
So one question that I've heard, and I'm hoping you'll mention as you're going through things, is, where can you, if you want to use KVM versus LXC, where do you specify that? So, so as you go through, if you'd kind of highlight when there's kind of a choice, that would be super awesome. And when they could do that.
Yeah, I will do my best. I am admittedly not well versed on LXC yet. I generally use KVM as the hypervisor, but I'm sure that we have.
I think we've got some other experts on this.
We absolutely do.
Meeting.
So what I want to do is go ahead and kick off this deployment. It is 17 after right now, just to kind of take note of how quickly this will happen. Now, if you're doing this for the first time, oh wait, I was in the wrong directory.
Oh, are we counting this against your time?
Yeah, you better. And I can't type. Okay, let's try that again.
Well, I don't think you're sharing anymore.
Oh, well, this is good.
Because see, yeah, you're going to tell us look, it was so fast. We're like,
Look, boom, there you go. So you didn't even see my my little mistake. Okay, so here we go. Juju deployer. Run for the hills. Okay, so curious over here how things are looking. So in the Juju GUI, we still have one charm deployed. And you can see that some things are starting to show up. While that's happening, I'll bounce over here to our outer layer of OpenStack, and you can see these instances starting to be spawned and built. So that's pretty cool to be able to see. And these commands are just the Nova list with a little bit of grep and cut action to make it fit on the screen, since we have an increased font size. Juju status is...
Thank you, Ryan, for using big fonts so that we
happy to. So if we go into Juju status, we can see also those machines, but we also see more detail, how many CPU cores, what architecture, RAM, etc. So these are the machines on the first half or so of that Juju status output. Down below, you'll start to see the services and configurations, IPs, and such. Excuse me. All right. So as I said, when you Juju deploy, you get it pretty much guesses, I think, with maybe a little bit of logic on where it wants things. But since there are no relations right now, it would have no idea where to put things. And it looks like Corey is kind of rearranging some things. Is it allowing you? Yeah, there you go. Cool. So while that's happening, I'm going to go ahead and take care of a couple of networking issues, which anytime you're doing networking within networking and you've got multiple layers of Neutron, you kind of have to do some trickery with floating IPs and such to gain access back to that new network. And so while this is building, I believe it's safe to go ahead and do that. So there are a number of ways to get the IP. You can use Juju status. Juju has a really cool feature called Juju SSH. And so you can take one of the machine names out of Juju status and SSH to it. It just automatically keys it up. It automatically places you into a shell. You can also use it to remotely run commands. And if this thing is up, that's a quick way to determine the IP address of that box. And I'm going to need to associate that 219 address to Neutron so that the networking within the new stack will function. I also need to get the OpenStack Horizon dashboard IP to expose that as well so that we can access that without port forwarding and all kinds of other funky stuff. So the 225 IP we're going to assign also to a floating IP.
You can also pass the unit name into Juju status, which will just...
yes. That's a great idea. Thank you, Liam. I learn something every day, and that's the fun. Okay, so we have 21 machines up and running, and over here we have Corey arranging the charms. Again, that has no bearing on configuration. It's just to be able to see the relations.
Yeah, so that you can see the little lines in between. So the spider web looks cool.
It does. It's pretty cool. So if you've seen our presentations on stage, this is generally what you'll see. So okay, we're still cooking back there. Okay, let's make this network work. Oh, okay, so we're shifting gears to a new realm here, a new reality. We're going to hop into the new OpenStack instance.
Okay, so wait, so we're now 5 minutes in from when you said it's 6 minutes in.
Okay, so it's
pretty
up right
awesome.
Now.
This is awesome. Yeah,
it's up. So in 6 minutes or less, probably actually 4. I timed it at 240 seconds yesterday. So that's going from no OpenStack to OpenStack.
So
now,
and Ryan sorry, continue. And then there's a question on my
So now getting back to it is another story. So then you have to mangle your network and configure things so that works well.
Okay, so Matty W asked, is that okay? So okay, let me start. Avoin had checked to make sure that he was looking or she was looking at the right repo. So the OpenStack Charmers junk OpenStack Charm testing. So Matty W is asking, is that branch the best place to get OpenStack bundles from? For example, when Juno is released, I want to install Juno on Trusty. Will it appear in that repo, or is there a better place to get the bundle from?
I believe that's where we're going to update it. And James, feel free to chime in on
that. This is a perfect James question. So James, tell us what you think. Tell us the answer.
Can you hear me okay? Yeah. Okay. I would say that that's probably that's a good place to take something that's relatively bleeding edge and non-functional during dev cycle, and we try and keep the default.yaml stable, but ideally we should have bundles in the Charm store, or should be the definitive source for those things, but we don't. We have one, but it was having trouble importing for some reason, so hopefully we should get that sorted out.
Okay, so right now I'm assigning floating IPs to the Neutron gateway and Horizon dashboard so that we'll be able to get to those. Okay. And on our Nova list over here that we've got running every 1 second, you can see that those IPs were successfully assigned. We should now be able to head over to here, except I gave it a different IP. Or did I?
Wait, is it a two? Oh, I can't. I keep wanting to move your mouse, Ryan. I'm like, wait, let me see. No, click over. Oh, can't.
I'm not going to let you.
It's probably worth highlighting a feature that we use on ServStack to help us do this type of testing. So by default, an OpenStack deployment will have security groups applied to each instance that's running within it on the network interface that the instance is actually connected to on the hypervisor. We use the charm option that allows you to completely disable that. So we want to use our OpenStack deployment more like a kind of general purpose network. We're not that worried about instance level security. So you don't, in our deployment, you don't have to open up specific ports or IP addresses to be able to access them. You shouldn't have to do that. I wonder where our floating IP pool range is going. I see now. 1098. You better get those back.
You better give those back when you're done, Ryan. You need to share.
It's fair to say that most tenants in this club don't have much quota limitation. -1 is doesn't mean -1.
All right, Ryan. Are you talking? Because you're quiet.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Ha! Apologize for that.
And it's good that you're running this, because if I was running this, I would not be able to resist hitting on the play button on Google. But so yeah.
Who knows what that's going to get you?
I know. I haven't done it yet today. I will.
Okay. For some reason, I'm not getting back to this. 10.502.25. I'm on a different keyboard today, so I'm having a little trouble with my keys. Ah, MTU. So this is that little MTU problem that I was talking about. And this only happens if you're tunneling networks through networks within Neutron. This should take care of that.
It's to do with the packet overhead for the tunneling. So
Yeah.
Yes, we can fix this in a couple of ways. Probably worth kind of highlighting why and how. So the charms have some options that allow you to set the DHCP configuration to provide an NTU that DHCP instances should use, which is what Ryan's doing now. The alternative way to fix this is to increase the MTU on the compute host hosting your cloud sufficiently that they can accommodate the extra overhead for GRE packets at 15, the standard 1500 MTU, which is another way of doing it. Not every switch will let you do that without rebooting it though, so we provided both options. By default, it will use the standard, it won't set an option in the charms, but you can pretty easily override that.
Okay, so Liam is our resident Neutron professional. This didn't happen to me just a little bit ago, and I'm not certain that JujuStat Neutron Gateway 0 will display the MTU, but I think that it should. Should it not?
If you do Juju get on the Neutron Gateway.
Thank you. Okay, tis set. Tis set here. Okay, so run into
remember your instances have already booted, so until they renew their DHCP, they still won't get the option.
Okay, so I'll need to. You know what though?
Heck, you're only half an hour in. Let's try and start again.
Well, hey, I deployed this thing like 5 times yesterday, so let's go look down here. I was pretty certain that yeah, see here. So we originally deployed with instance MTU 1300.
Oh, that should be okay then. Yeah. So sorry, what was the symptom you were seeing there? Sorry, I wasn't watching. So you can ping okay. Can you SSH?
Okay, so we've just entered a shell within the OpenStack dashboard.
Yeah, so you haven't got an MTU issue, that's something different.
So that verifies network issues are not a problem.
Pretty much. SSH is pretty. If you can just check the MTUs now on that box.
I'm sorry.
I think the MTU issue would show up if he was trying to SSH into a guest that he's launched on the OpenStack on top of OpenStack, not.
Oh, wait, we haven't got that far yet, have we? That's true, actually. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I don't believe that's our problem. I think we have a floating IP
Well, I think like Ryan Harper's all working now, and he's starting to use server stack, so that we might, you know.
Do we have some conflict?
No, I just teasing. I saw Liam teased him earlier about, you know, the hardware's not as busy when he's not around.
Okay, so I'm going to tear this puppy down. I'm not sure. I may have skipped a step somewhere in here, but I don't believe that I did.
You're just keeping it real, man.
That's
Ryan.
right. That's right. So this is why we have a testing environment, and so I'm going to tear down the Juju unless
Right.
I can see your dashboard.
what's that?
I can see your dashboard.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Before you destroy it.
Well, as long as you can see it. Oh, you know what?
What?
Was it? Because that is weird.
What?
So you can see the dashboard, but I cannot.
Well, you get into the Apache server. I don't know why it's not responding to you. That's weird.
Shall I bounce that instance? Let's not destroy this environment.
I'm
Right.
not sure that's your problem.
Password for the dashboard. Do you have that?
Oh, password is Openstack, and that is defined in the YAML, by the way, so you can set your password ahead of time so that you know what to log in, what credentials to use to log back into the thing.
You want somebody else to share the Openstack?
Let me just kill Chromium and
Let's try it. Give him one chance. I think it's cool. I like all the live. Let's figure out what's going on. But yeah, then we can.
okay. So skipping past this GUI, let's stop on the GUI thing for a sec. What I'd like to do is show this little thing that I just did, which by default on that new stack you won't have any security groups to be able to do things like SSH and ping instances within the new stack within a stack.
Right.
So yes, sir.
You enabled port 80 but not 443, and you're trying to get to the dashboard on 443, I think.
Yeah, but that's going to the other instance. That was just so that I'd bring up an Apache instance on the second layer of the stack, right?
Well, I can get to the dashboard on HTTP but not HTTPS, and I think you're trying to get to it on HTTPS. But
well, let's just see if that's the issue. New security rule added. Brilliant, Liam. Brilliant. So, as you can see, it's secure by default. Apologize for the detour there. All right, so here is the inner layer of our OpenStack deployment. And remember those scripts I ran imported some images. We could go ahead and launch some instances here if we want to. We can see things like available resources, all of the usual stuff. Okay, so I have a little script that will deploy a handful of trusty instances, and I think I'll go ahead and run that. This is modified, Liam, basically a modified version of your script, and I think it's called 3trusty. Yes. So what this will do is generate a new key pair, import that puppy into OpenStack so that we can SSH back into these instances. It'll run a quick little three-cycle loop, and generate 3 new instances. So while that's happening, I'll kick this off. While that's happening, I'm going to shift back over here. Into the internal OpenStack, the second instance, if you will, and we should be able to see those instances spin up here on the new OpenStack instance that we just created. We can also view those guys coming up over here. or not.
I think the script to fire up the instances might have thrown an error. There was something very briefly.
You know what it is? I didn't switch into the internal network. There you go. That's better. Okay, so we do have 3 new instances coming up. They'll also take, what, less than a minute or so to become usable? While those are booting, we can see that we don't have any floating IPs on that internal new OpenStack environment. So I'm going to create a few. Just to have handy. Okay, so now we have some floating IPs available. We can assign those to these new instances so that we can access them. Keep in mind these new instances that we brought up are running inside a private network. Inside of a private network, inside of all kinds of confusing stuff, so it's quite fun. So now what we can do is say I want to take this instance ID, do exactly what we did before by exposing the Horizon and Neutron, only take it into the inner layer of things, and we'll give it an IP of one of those floats. Those are 10.5.150. We'll give this 1.1. So if I know the list now, I should see, we'll go back over here. I should see now that we have floating IP associated with that. And I should be able to, oh, hello. Use that key that we generated and hop into this box if it's ready. Now this may be the MTU issue.
So what are you doing right now, Ryan?
Okay, so we're not able to get back into that box. I just wanted to make sure it's up and ready, and this is a log showing the console, so it does show that it's up and ready.
So it's just you're having troubles getting into it. So it's up and ready. You just can't get in.
Did you add security group rules for your OpenStack on top of OpenStack? You may have done, I may have missed it.
I did miss that step on the OpenStack on top of OpenStack. There you go. So Liam nailed it again. Twice now I've been tripped by the security rules. Thank you. Thank you, security rules. Or not. It's amazing how these things go just perfectly when you're running them on your own. Just to verify that those are here. Security groups. Everybody here looks good. So another way that we can launch some instances, I'll go ahead and use the GUI for this, shifting gears. We're going to use Scott Mosier's Custom Brew Seros. Let's say I want to bring up a 12-pack of those. Oh, I don't have enough quota for that. I guess all we get is a 6-pack. I'll have to define the network. And this is basically the GUI representation of that script that we just ran. And so if I have these requirements, basically the only requirements are the key pair and the network and an image. be able to launch these and watch them spawn. So now I'm over to the Nova Compute nodes, which are your hypervisors, and I just wanted to kind of demonstrate how cool it is that these things are kind of spreading themselves across these machines. Okay, so that would be your traditional KVM interface with libvirt and virsh. You can see the instances running on the inside layer of the stack, which again would be this layer here.
Hey, so Ryan, Kent B. asked about, I think, trying to help debug what's going on. I said, what about pinging the internal address with IP netns exec?
Oh yes, there's all kinds of troubleshooting that we could do. What I'm going to do here real quick, I want to up my quota actually on the boxes inside. And so, James, you've got 3 hypervisors with 8 gigs and 8 cores, so that you don't have to bring up new Nova Compute nodes if you want to jump on some of this. Okay, so adjusting the quota will allow us to bring up a new number of instances. Here are the instances we've brought up so far. So running back to the scripts here, we could do something like, I want to bring up 3 more Ceres instances, and 3 more Ceres instances, and 3 more Ceres instances. And so this list is going to start growing probably beyond our screen.
Hey Ryan, I have a question.
Okay, Corey.
I'm actually going back to the beginning. I don't want to interrupt you, but
Go ahead.
okay. So the original YAML file that's in that branch, it's the description of the OpenStack deployment that we're giving to Juju when we do the deployment, right?
That's right.
So in this case, we're doing OpenStack on OpenStack. Now, if somebody wanted to do a deployment to NAS, I mean, is that basically, can they, without having to tweak that YAML file, should they be able to go ahead and do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, keep in mind we're in this middle box. This could just as easily be a pile of bare metal hardware that's controlled by MAS, which is exactly what this outer layer is. And if I'm not mistaken, James, our outer layer here is actually Juju deployed with MAS on bare metal. Is that correct?
That is correct, yeah.
Okay. So what Corey is getting at is even though we're deploying OpenStack within OpenStack today, which is not entirely useful as far as a production environment, it is a good, easy way to be able to test things and to just get your feet wet with OpenStack if you already have an OpenStack instance. But if you have a data center or a pile of hardware, you can enlist those into MAS, configure Juju to talk to MAS, and then Juju will deploy this same YAML on top of that hardware. So that is production, a production scenario that would be very usable. In fact, we use it internally here in several different OpenStack environments. That's a great question, Corey.
Yeah, and I guess another thing, if people want to play around just on their own machines, there's the cloud installer that's kind of in early development, but it does work. If you just commit to that, and basically what that's doing is you can deploy a stripped down version of this OpenStack deployment on your local machine, and it's in that case it's actually using containers and KVM VMs to host the various OpenStack services.
Yeah, that is a very powerful tool, and I believe it's maturing. I'm not sure what the release status is, but the cloud installer is, you know, I see a lot of questions out there, maybe not a lot, but periodically people say, well, where's the quick install guide for OpenStack on Ubuntu? And so the quick answer is you can use the cloud installer to do something along those lines. You could also use the scenario that we have here today, which is Juju talking to Maz and then deploying OpenStack with Juju, which literally can be done in 3 commands. It's all of the networking type of issues that you have to iron out, as we've seen today, and I think that we probably can overcome those. Like I said, I deployed this same thing yesterday, and I was able to go back into these instances. I actually brought up Apache on one of the internal machines. So if anybody has any other ideas about troubleshooting this connectivity back to this guy, I expect to be able to get back to that, and I cannot.
Did you add the second port to the Neutron gateway in the cloud?
So that's covered at the top of the configure script?
Yes, it is configured, and the configure script was run. That's not what I want. All right, we'll just do it the hard way. Okay, so what I want to do is go back into one of these trusty instances.
Oh, were you trying to get to Syros instance?
No, it's
a trusty.
Okay, sorry.
Is it worth mentioning why you asked that question?
Yeah. Okay. So.
Probably so.
This is why there's. Okay. So not all operating systems obey the MTU setting provided by DHCP. Syros is one of those. I know Scott's working to fix that, so that we can use his tool for more testing. Ubuntu by default does do more. So it will obey that DHCP setting. Various other operating systems by default do not.
Okay, so if we want to take a giant bomb and blow up this environment, there's a one-liner to do it, but I don't want to do that until
we have 5
minutes.
We have 5 minutes left.
Right.
So don't want. So I want to go and ask James. So James, at the very beginning of the call, the question had been about the Charm bundle, the OpenStack Charm bundle, and you said it's got an issue right now. So do you have any idea on when? Do you have kind of a target on when we hope to have that addressed?
Yeah. No, we don't. Sorry, I was hedging around it then.
No. Okay, so I think
to be fair, the bundle works. So
okay, that's okay. Good. Okay, because I didn't
grab
get
it
that
directly
one
from the
fuzzy
branch.
feeling. Sorry.
Let me paste the bundle directly into the session.
Okay, thank you.
And it is actually the bundle that Ryan has demoed.
So the bundle works. There's just a niggle.
Yeah, it's basically a niggle over the import into the Charm store. So for some reason it doesn't want to import my bundle. To be fair, I actually wrote the bundle by hand because it's YAML and we had some existing ones, so I wrote one by hand. And I think that's probably where the problem is, somewhere in there. That what's perfectly valid YAML is not liked by the Charm store. So we'll see. So yeah, I've pasted the branch into the IRC channel so folks can see it. That you can grab that branch and deploy and drop that bundle as a file into a GG GUI in a running environment, and it will deploy it. The bundle is designed specifically for our OpenStack on OpenStack deployment, so it has constraints which make sense in a virtual world, but don't make much sense in a hardware world. And I really wanted to write a sandbox bundle rather than a bundle that would solve everybody's problems, and it highlights both kind of drawback of the charms and the ultimate flexibility of them. Is there are a lot of options when you're deploying OpenStack. Not all services are mandatory. You can figure them in different ways. You can use different storage backends. You can use different neutron plugins. You can use node networking. There's a number of different options. So Ryan touched on this earlier in the Cloud Installer. The Cloud Installer provides you with the best practice way to make those high-level selections and deploy stuff, but if you need the ultimate flexibility on what you're putting on where and exactly how you're configuring it, the GG Charms are still the right way to go for that type of deployment. So having one OpenStack bundle is very hard. I think most people will end up writing a bundle for their deployment, which is exactly what we did with ServerStack, which is the environment Ryan's been demoing on. We have a bundle for ServerStack, which is how we put OpenStack down using MAS on the 6 servers that are this deployment.
Right, but so if someone's going to go and write their own custom bundle, will they likely base it off one of ours and kind of work from there?
Yeah, if they want to, yeah. I mean, it's a good start. I mean, the ServerStack deployment itself, which we're running on, uses MAS, uses LXC containers running physical servers for a lot of the services. So you can see how to use that from a GD deploy bundle. It co-locates certain services like Ceph and Nova Compute so that you can kind of maximize your storage/compute footprint for your very minimal server footprint normally, and does some clever tricks like that as well. So it's useful for the ServerStack bundle is probably useful for a small deployment.
Yeah. So what I'd love to hear
I
from
can test that as well.
So if anyone watches this video later, the thing personally I think it would be interesting for us to kind of maybe come back and do something outside of vUDS, do some more demos, and I'd really like to hear what people want to see from our team. So I really appreciate, Ryan, that you did this, and I think it's awesome. But I want to know what people want to hear. So if you have thoughts, if you're watching this later, I don't know if anyone does, drop me a note. Find me on IRC. And
thanks, Pat. Yeah. So here's what I plan to do.
Tell me.
Now I have kind of a revenge issue with my little scripts here, and I'm going to have to probably screen record a new video just so you can see it work like clockwork.
Well, I'm thinking like we can come back. We can do it. We don't have to only do it. Yeah.
But before we go, we have to see the demise of this stack because it's kind of
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of fun to watch it fall down.
It would be. Do we need like an animated GIF that?
No, we'll have an animated shell. How about that?
Okay. All right. Are we supposed to like put Pink Floyd in our thing?
Yeah.
Pink Floyd in our
Okay.
mind? I won't sing though.
All right, so I'm about to tear down the Juju environment with the one-liner, and it will do exactly that. Those machines are going to vanish. Good thing it confirms, because that's could be dangerous. Should have been watching the other Nova list, but you know, it can't all go just perfectly. Okay, so we have Hornet back down. Now I'm back in the outer layer of the OpenStack diagram we had earlier.
Okay, and you got about 30 seconds, Ryan, and then we got to end.
So, anyhow, thanks everybody for joining us, and
sorry.
I hope that something was somewhat useful here. And like I said, I'll have a revenge post on my script at some point. The basic functions, though, I think we showed, and it is very powerful to use these Juju Charms to deploy OpenStack. So again, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, and I think, Ryan, just so you know, I think Pierre has some opinions on some things you might try. So you guys can take it to IRC. Anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Have a great day. Take care. Bye, guys.
Everybody.